Hello everyone, welcome to my final project. I'm doing my project on the history of the Eiffel Tower. First, let's jump into the history of the designer of the Eiffel Tower. His name was Alexandre Gustave Eiffel. He was born in Dijon, France in 1832. After graduating as a civil engineer, Eiffel began his career in metal construction. Gustave Eiffel began his career developing metal bridges throughout France and Europe. The image to the right is the Eiffel Bridge in Girona, Spain, and I took this picture off to the right here when I visited Spain in 2019. So below are listed of many of the most famous works of Gustave Eiffel. Sorry if I butcher the pronunciation, but here's a Passerelle Eiffel in Bordeaux, France in 1860. It's a famous walkable bridge. The picture on the bottom is during its construction, and the picture on the top is what it looks like today. The next one is the railhouse station at Toulouse, France in 1862. This is a gorgeous railway station that Gustave Eiffel helped construct and design. Next is the Church of Notre Dame in Paris, France in 1862. He didn't design all of the Cathedral of Notre Dame, but he did design the church, however, and this is that end of it, the part of it, which is just a church. It's very beautiful. He actually also helped design and construct the gift from France to the United States, which is known as the Statue of Liberty in New York City, New York, in 1886. And last but not least, obviously, the Eiffel Tower. So now let's jump into why the Eiffel Tower was built. It was built in Paris, France, it was commissioned by Paris, France, for Gustave Eiffel to design, engineer, and construct the Eiffel Tower for the upcoming Paris World's Fair in 1889. The main objective of the fair was to highlight the new inventions of iron and steel of the Industrial Revolution. Eiffel constructed the tower out of iron to prove how strong yet and light the metal was, to show that the material could be used and was used for things after the Industrial Revolution, like locomotive engines, railroad tracks, factory engines, and ships, steam engine ships, all of which were used in the Industrial Revolution for, new trade and factories, which allowed for the Industrial Revolution in general to occur. So now let's jump into the history of the construction of the Eiffel Tower. So the Eiffel Tower begins construction. Initial construction of the Eiffel Tower broke away on January 26, 1887. From here it took 4 months just to dig and prepare the foundation of the towers. The foundation, the concrete where the steel, or the iron steel bits go into, can be seen in the picture off to the right there. It took 4 months to do that. Eiffel's factory. All of the 18,000 pieces were prepared and built in Eiffel's factory in France. He had a factory where all of his workers built the iron pieces for the construction of the tower there, and then they brought them to the construction site kind of one by one, or batches of pieces to be assembled. They were perfectly engineered to the 1/10 of a millimeter inside of the factory. Each of them was only about 5 meters long. So it kind of gives you an idea of what it was constructed of and what those pieces looked like, and what it took to build them. For the assembly of the Eiffel Tower, workers assembled the pieces with bolts hand by hand initially and went back to replace all of them with rivets so that they could contract and fit perfectly after they were assembled. It was groups of teams of 4 men at a time were used to install all of the 2.5 million rivets that made up the tower. One man would heat the rivet, the next would hold it in place, the other would shape it, and the last would hit it into place with a sledgehammer. So because the Eiffel Tower was obviously an elevated vertical design piece of architecture, platforms were needed for its elevated construction during the building process. The builders used raised wooden platforms connected to the part of already built tower, and hoists would be able to reach the next section that we're assembling. So they would build one piece, and then they would connect that platform to the already existing piece that they had just built to be able to reach the next piece. So they would kind of just go up and up and up and up. It was actually a very modernized and good way of designing it at the time. It went very well. Eiffel Tower's continued construction. The Eiffel Tower's second floor began in June of 1888, and you can see in the picture to the right where the foundation and all 4 main areas from the bottom were built, and then they came together to form the second and the third story there. So this picture is kind of in between the second and third part of its construction. A journalist described the construction site as a thick cloud of tar and coal smoke seized the throat, and we were deafened by the din of metal screaming beneath the hammer. So it's kind of, the journalist who was on site there, he explained how the building process was, and what it looked like, sounded like, smelled like. The Eiffel Tower's completion. The tower only took 2 years, 2 months, and 5 days to complete, which is shocking for how large it was and the fact that it was built, in the late 1800s. Construction finished on March 31st, 1889. The tower's design and construction consisted of 5,300 drawings, 50 engineers, 150 factory workers, hundreds of on-site workers, in groups of 4 like we talked about before for the assembly, 73 tons of iron, and 60 tons of paint. Only one worker died during the construction period, and he wasn't working during his death. So nobody actually died during its construction. It was one of the workers on his day off was there showing off, and he ended up falling to his death. So the new system of developing the tower and constructing it was, I think that proves how revolutionary the engineering and building process was, that it only took just over 2 years and only one person died, and he wasn't even working on it at the time. And iron is very lightweight, but it does rust over time from water and corrosion and exposure to the elements. So that's where all the paint comes in. Every 7 years it's repainted to prevent it from inevitably rusting. After the tower's completion, the newly built tower was the tallest building in the world at the time, and it was an engineering marvel. It was enjoyed by wealthy locals who would go up to the top and view the city of love, Paris, France. The top picture there is what people see from the top in the dining rooms outward. It was protested by many locals at first who did not like it and said it did not fit in with the city. A novelist hated the tower, but he actually ate lunch in it every single day because he said it was the only place that he couldn't see the tower from. So when he was inside it, inside the Eiffel Tower in Paris, he couldn't see it. So it's kind of funny if he, just wanted attention or actually hated it. We'll never know, but that's very interesting. Eiffel Tower post-construction. The Eiffel Tower inevitably outlasted its critics. It became a staple of Paris. That's what people think of when they think of Paris, and many people around the world. Tourists come there every year to see the Eiffel Tower. The new tower needed lights, so 10,000 gas lights were strung up around the tower. In 1900, it was illuminated with electric lights instead. That's the top picture. You can see where it's illuminated with electric lights. Or after 1985. On December 31st, 1985, the lighting system we see today was installed and introduced and enacted upon the Eiffel Tower. They illuminated the entire shape of the tower and automatically at dark they would sparkle for a few minutes at midnight every single night. I got to see that when I went there in 2011, how I walked up upon it just at midnight and it was sparkling. That's seen on the bottom picture to the left of it sparkling, and then normally at night it looks like the picture above that. It is shocking that this beautiful tower is made of iron metal pieces that are only 5 meters long when viewing it all lit up at nighttime, because it's just so beautiful at night. And here's the bibliography. Thank you.